It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. There you go. Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. Let me see if this microphone's on. Well, come on. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Okay, man. Okay, what a day. This show is brought to you by the generosity of our wonderful sponsors. Hey, there it goes. I was going to try and stall because my copy here, my ad copy, wasn't pulling up. First, guys, cart-king.com, 877-986-7771. If you want to get into the mobile cart or kiosk business, check out cart-king.com. For 20 years, they've been making indoor and outdoor carts and mobile carts and kiosks for any application. So if you want to add additional revenue by selling coffee or flowers or food in the lobby of your business or even outdoors, cart-king.com is the answer to your needs. They've been in business 20 years. So you go to the website, cart-king.com, you see which one applies to your business, and then they'll custom design it for you, they'll custom build it for you, and they'll ship it worldwide. Okay, and cart-king.com has been very good to this show, let me tell you. They saved the show a year ago, and their ad's about to renew right now. And they've decided to expand our show too and take us on KCAA AM radio in California there. So next week when you hear this show, we'll be playing on AM radio in Beverly Hills and Malibu and Newport Beach and all the way down to Palm Springs and even up as far as Hemet. Huge coverage in California coming up for the Opperman Report. This will allow us to have a whole new expanded variety of guests, more coverage, more financing too, because we'll be able to get better sponsors. We'll be able to get all, the memberships will go up, the Spreaker views will go up. So cart-king.com, also too, is going to cover Victoria's college expenses too. So we're very, very excited. Had a very good day today. Thanks to cart-king.com, 877-986-7771. But you can't forget our other great sponsors like puresoapflakes.com. You can they handcraft fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils. You can bathe your body, wash your clothes with pure soap pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium sulfate, and synthetic additives. The stuff in that soap is, so bad you can't even say it. Pure Soap Flake company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin. You can buy it at puresoapflake.com. You can buy it at greenhome.com, amazon.com, or 218-568-2525. Or you can get it at Whole Foods. AlmightyGold.com. Now, this is a great company, too. AlmightyGold.com is run by this really sweetheart of a woman named Twyla. And she's really into this stuff, too. She sends me this stuff. But, hey, Ed, the price of gold is about to go up. It's about to go up. She always gives me the inside tips on gold, and she really watches it, And but people can't invest in gold. They can't buy ounces of gold. No one can afford that. So with AlmightyGold.com, you can invest in like 1/10 of a gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams of gold. You can start investing in. You can use it to barter with and buy things with. They also have a cryptocurrency that's backed in gold, and they have an affiliate program. Now, it would be great. All the people out there who listen to this show who say, hey, Ed, I'd love to support the show, but I got no money. If you were to become an affiliate of AlmightyGold.com for free, there's no cost in that. You just sign up as an affiliate. You're going to make money doing this. You get your affiliate link, and then you post that link on your Twitter, your Facebook, you make a comment someplace, and put it in the signature line of your emails, right? And anybody who clicks on that link and buys some gold, you're going to get a commission on that. Plus, so it helps advertise AlmightyGold.com, and it helps support the Opperman Show. So if you don't have money to support the show, this is a good way to do it. Emailrevealer.com, adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, email tracing, asset searches, emailrevealer.com. Okay, let's get started here. We've got a really big shoe, as they used to say in the old days. You had Ed Sullivan's show. Let's see how we're doing on time here. Oh, only 5 minutes. Oh, my God. Got to get this show over it. Okay. Okay. Let me tell you what's going on this week. We had some really good content this week, as I'm sure you know. And we have some good content coming up, too. We have this guy, I think his name is Eric Audet, who was held in a Pakistani prison for 3 years. Then we have this guy, too, Vince Shuffalo, who's a retired ATF agent, who was involved in the Patty Hearst investigation, the Sudanese Liberation Army, and Oklahoma City bombing, and a bunch of other stuff, too, that were really good, motorcycle gangs and the Ku Klux Klan, militia groups and stuff like that. So I have that coming up tomorrow for you. And then also, too, what we do is, from now on Saturday nights, after the show, we play a best of after show. One of my old classic after show reports that I've done in the past, we're playing that now on Spreaker.com. And also, too, I've begun playing Pierce Redmond, William Ramsey, and John Barber's World on my Spreaker channel as well. So you go to Spreaker.com, you find Opera Report, and you sign up to that. When you follow the show, you get an email whenever we play some new content. And we're starting to play like new content on there every single night. I'm trying to make that my hub, my home base, you know. Okay, let's see. Did a show last week with Dano Hanks, who was a very famous, well, I guess you might say notorious or infamous private investigator. You know, he's got this long rap sheet and stuff like that. It was the first PI to get a PI license with a felony conviction. And, you know, he's involved in a lot of celebrity cases and Hollywood cases and stuff like that. So, I interviewed him. Thanks to our good friend of the show here, Mark Ebner, who has his own podcast. He's a private investigator as well. Has his own podcast called The Gray Zone. Is that it, The Gray Zone? Why does Mark Ebner have a show called The Gray Zone? That's weird. Anyway. So Mark knows all these guys. You know, he knows Dano Hanks. He's worked with him for years. And, you know, he hooked me, and Mark, well, I don't know who it was, but Dano Hanks was involved here, you know, investigating OJ. He was surveilling OJ, and he had a team of investigators out here surveilling OJ. And I got wind of that, and Mark Ebner hooked me up with Dano Hanks. We had him on the show last week. And after the show, you know, I guess it was the next morning, I was feeling a little melancholy, you know. Isn't it nice you have a life where you can use the word melancholy? You know, that's so nice to have a radio show and you've had a life, you know. Oh, I feel melancholy, you know. But that's how I felt. There's no other way to describe it. I did feel melancholy, okay? And like a melancholy baby. And I said, yeah, you know, man, I miss those fun celebrity cases I used to work on all the time. I miss them, you know. And I'm kind of out of the loop in that, you know. And some of these guys I used to work with, man, you know, I call up these lawyers, they're trying to send them cases, and they don't call me back, you know. And a lot of that's because, you know, they see me doing the radio show now, and they say, you know, we can't get right involved in this because you'll talk about it on the radio. And I never do, man. I still uphold all my ethics. I really do, man. You know, and I kind of felt nostalgic, you know. I said, oh, man, I miss that stuff. You know, yeah, great, I'm doing the show, I meet all these people and stuff like that, and I get in contact with stuff. This is great, too. But to actually be out there in the trenches and doing those kind of cases that, you know, when you're sitting around with other PIs, you can brag about it and stuff like that, you know. I says, you know, this kind of sucks, you know. That the focus, you know, is now more on, like, doing this TV series, which is going very well, too, by the way. It looks like that's going to take off. And, you know, doing the radio show and interviewing these people. So the next morning, crack of dawn, like not even 9 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from Paul Baresi. Who's this notorious, again, even more notorious than Dano Hanks, and even more well-known. I just played his show tonight. Famous guy. You know, you heard about him first because he was the gay porn star who had a relationship with John Travolta, and then he sold the story to the tabloids, and he outed John Travolta as being homosexual. And then it went back and forth. You know, he kind of denied it for a while, but then kind of on the show, when he had him on the show, he kind of admitted it again. He was involved in the Eddie Murphy case, where Eddie Murphy was being had all that scandal coming up with the transvestites he was hanging out with. And O.J. Simpson case, Michael Jackson. This guy was one of the investigators for Michael Jackson that was negotiating these deals with these kids. You know, paying off silence and stuff. Firsthand. And he came on our show and he kind of said, yeah, that's what we did. And he told the whole story about Michael Jackson having his hand on Macaulay Culkin's crotch. You know? So he calls me up the next morning. Goes, Ed Opperman. How are you, Ed? It's Paul Baresi. Now, when I first wanted to do a radio show, he was on my list of people I wanted to contact and interview. Fascinating character, man, in history. You know, and I contacted him years ago, like 5-6 years ago, and I says, hey, man, come on the show. And he goes, you know what, anybody, they always portray me, I don't like the way I get portrayed in news stories and on radio shows and stuff like that. They never portray me the way I want to be. But when he listened to the Dan O'Hanks interview, he called me up, he goes, you're a stand-up guy, I like the way you interview, you let people talk, and I want to come on your show, I want to go on the record, and I want you to do it. Oh, man, oh my God, what an honor, you know, that someone who's been gun-shy for doing an interview for years and years and years, after I begged him years ago, but then contacts me, calls up and says, I respect your work, I want to come on your show. So, and since then, we've been talking every day, man, you know, and this guy's going to be a great source of a resource, okay, for my work and for my life and stuff going on here with the show as well, too. You know, we're gonna have access to stuff, guys, that we didn't have before, I can tell you that. And it feels good. And then coincidentally, I just got hired on another celebrity-type case. You know, it had nothing to do with this. But you know, like I'm kind of back in the game. I feel really good. And then the show's taking off. We got this new expansion going on to KCAA. So I may be losing a daughter. But, you know, my career is going on. Oh, by the way, too, I got to give a shout-out to my daughter, Victoria Opperman, who is the president of her speech and debate here in Coral Academy High School here in Nevada. And, you know, she just graduated, going into college next year. And her debate team that she was the president of, that she was the captain of the PF, that she's the number 7 debater in the whole state of Nevada, by the way, in every category. Male, female, you know, PF, LD, every category. Well, her team just went to nationals, and her vice president that she trained, that she taught, that she built up this team, her team just won the national debate championship in their category. And her partner won, too, while he was over there, too. Her partner won something over there, too. So a huge feather in her cap, man. This kid who just makes me so proud every day. She got a job now. She's working as a telemarketer and excelling at that as well, too. And she's on her way to college at American University in Washington, D.C. in August 20th. It's going to be one of the proudest and saddest days of my life when she leaves. So we set up a little GoFundMe for her. It's a GoFundMe, help Victoria get to college. And really, really proud of her. So if you can help support that too. You know, we did a little show about it yesterday. I was hoping we'd get a little more response, but we got one response from one of the guys who got shot by Son of Sam. He sent so much. Carl De Niro has been a guest on our show because he was shot by the Son of Sam. Donated to my daughter's GoFundMe. Whew. Anyway, a lot of hard work, guys. We've been working really hard. As a matter of fact, I just barely made it back home tonight to do this show. So let's see. Where do we want to go with this? Let's go right into the hack stuff. Hey, let's see. Where do we start? I was telling you a couple of weeks back the story about Jerry Falwell Jr. and about how it came out that Michael Cohen, Mr. Trump's fixer, inserted himself, got a job. He helped out Jerry Falwell Jr. because Jerry Falwell Jr. was being extorted and blackmailed. And he turned to Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen went to the blackmailer and the blackmailer's attorney, and he says, you guys are committing a crime, and you better cut it out, otherwise I'm taking you down. Right? That's the story they tell us, right? The little Mutt and Jeff act going on there, right? But I've been watching this little scenario for a while here, right? And after I talked about that, I got some frantic messages on my voicemail, my business voicemail. A very fast-talking guy. And, I want to talk about Jerry Falwell, cell phone, whatever. And there was a lot of back and forth going on with all this. Right, man, guys who pay attention to the show can probably figure out what I'm talking about. And what's come up, and what happened with the whole story with that is that Jerry Falwell and his wife, they were staying at this resort down there in Florida, in Miami Beach, South Beach, and they met a pool boy, an aquatics specialist, an aquatic engineer, a pool boy. Sometimes he's called a pool boy, sometimes he's called a swim instructor, a lifeguard, all day, but whatever, the guy's hanging around the pool. Okay, let's leave it at that. Wearing a Speedo, I assume. And somehow Falwell and his wife befriend this young man, and next thing you know, they're investing in a $4 million hostel, a youth hostel, in a gay section of Miami that's frequented by homosexual young men, and they go into partnerships with this guy. And it's right around the same time this story comes out, Michael Cohen, oh, you better cut it out, you're extorting my client, I'm going to take it down, right? And people were putting two and two together that all this was associated with each other, and all this was related. And so what we find out now, there's an article in the Miami Herald. By the way, I am convinced that the Miami Herald listens to every show that I do. Big shout out to the Miami Herald. How are you, Miami Herald? Thanks for tuning in. Because they seem to be talking about everything I talk about here, man, lately. I ain't going to tell you. All right? And I know some of the people over there listen. I know 100% they listen because I talk to them. But it seems like a lot of people over there listening now. Just like we had Morning Joe quote my show one time. Morning Joe and Mika quoted the Steve Bannon Porn and Meth House. And they quoted something from my show that's exclusive to this show. There's no way they heard it anywhere else. That was kind of a thrill, too. I remember later on that day, I was in the doctor's office trying to get a prescription. And I was telling them, I says, yeah, and Morning Joe was talking about me today. I think they thought I was crazy. I think the TV people are talking about me on the TV. But, there's no doubt in my mind. Because you can Google that stuff. You're not going to find it. All you find is me. Anyway, back to this. Jerry Falwell Jr. Miami Herald comes out with a story this week. The search for the pornographic pictures, for the risque pictures. Because here's what the deal is that, well, you might say that the pool boy somehow had some embarrassing photos. And even Cohen talks about this. And Cohen says, I saw the photos. They are disgusting. They are really horrendous. They are really, horrible photos he saw. Right? That was all part of this extortion plot that he put a stop to. And by the way, too, the same time he put a stop to that plot, Jerry Falwell Jr. endorsed Donald Trump over Ted Cruz. Right? Ted Cruz I think was a pastor. His daddy was a pastor, something like that. His daddy was a JFK assassin, right? So, here's what comes out now this week. There's the hunt for the photos. And there's a story in the Miami Herald about how there's a hunt for the photos that are supposed to be on a cell phone, and the cell phone is, and the photos are leaked. They got the photos. The photos. By the way, who's involved in this thing too? Who's that guy? Tom Arnold. It's all over this stuff. Tom Arnold's all over this. People have no idea. People laugh when I mention Tom Arnold. I say, "Oh yeah, Tom Arnold. Yeah, ha ha ha." I've communicated with Tom Arnold. Okay, he knows what he's talking about. He knew more about Jared Kushner, and in fact, he came up with this thing about how Jared Kushner's father, when he was used those hookers to blackmail his brother-in-law, that those were Russian teen hookers, man. You don't hear that anywhere. Tom Arnold knew. Okay? What the hell? Paul Barisi's calling me right now. It's because I'm working, dude. Okay. So what was I going to say? Tom Arnold is trying to find these photographs that, what do you call it? That these are embarrassing photographs that Michael Cohen put a stop to. All right? And lo and behold, because, the rumor is going out there that Jerry Falwell Jr. had a homosexual relationship with this guy. And here came, lo and behold, the photos are discovered. They found the photos. And it turns out that the photos are naked photos of Jerry Falwell's wife. Okay? And that's what they want us to believe. That these are the photos. And how do they come up with this story? What do they say is the result that they came... Michael Cohen says, the phone must have been hacked. Jerry Falwell's phone was hacked. It got hacked. And that's how they got these photos. Well, another theory could be that these photos were released because they want people to think that Jerry Falwell is not homosexual and that these were the original photos. But I got a suspicion, okay? And what people are telling me in the background is that there are homosexual photos that people are looking for. And that's what the word out there on the street is. So you're getting a little behind-the-scenes news there on this. Because, by the way, I have not been hired in that case. No one's hired me in any possible way. It's all just been behind-the-scenes gossip and discussion with the people involved. Okay, well, but what are you going to do? All right, let's see what the time here is. How we doing? Oh, 21. Okay, let me keep going. But that's a little behind-the-scenes story there for you about this Jerry Falwell scandal. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, I bring that up because we had another interesting case come up this week with Alex Jones. Maybe you didn't hear this, though. Alex Jones had a situation this week. So what happened was he's being sued by the families of the Sandy Hook survivors are suing Alex Jones for defamation. Right? Let me see if I can find the exact quote. So Alex Jones had to send over a bunch of discovery to them. But what is this? Contact at Opperman Day? Get there on the show? People know I'm doing a live show, right? So, what's his name? Alex Jones. Alex Jones has to send over discovery. So he sends over a chunk of emails to the plaintiff's attorneys that are suing him. The plaintiff's attorneys start going through this discovery matter. And what do they discover? When they're going through the discovery, they discover child pornography in Alex Jones's emails. So they take it, oh my God, why are we going to call the FBI right now and turn this over to the FBI? Because that's what you got to do, man. Even as a digital forensic investigator, if I have a phone or something like that, and then once there's any kind of indication of any kind of criminal child porn or anything, you can't look at it, you can't download it, you can't touch it. You got to send it right over to the FBI. You can't travel with it. You can't do nothing with it. You can't touch it. So they did the perfectly right thing. Now, Alex Jones goes on the radio and he says, I've been hacked. I was hacked. My computer was hacked and people try to set me up. And first he tries to say, he starts talking about the families of the Sandy Hook families are making a fortune and living off the dead children. Well, meanwhile, he's being sued because he says there were no dead children. Okay, now he's saying, this guy can't get his story straight. Now he's saying that somehow they planted this on his computer and goes on the radio cursing and screaming, I'm offering $1 million to anybody who can find out who hacked my computers and planted this child pornography on me. Because obviously I'm Alex Jones. I wouldn't go near child pornography. I'm against that. Right? Then his lawyers come out and clarify, well, no, it wasn't $1 million. It's only $100,000. Okay, lawyers are all about money. It's only $100,000. And by the way, we've been cleared by the FBI. And the FBI says that there's no crime going on here. But then when the newspapers tried to contact the FBI for a statement, they gave no comment on this. Now, the only time the FBI cannot comment on a case is when there's an active investigation. Otherwise, if they've cleared somebody, they'll come right out and say, we've cleared them. Okay? But again, okay, well, I'm going to give Alex Jones the benefit of the doubt. It was hacked. My equipment was saying they planted this on me. They hacked me and they planted it. First I was hacked, then I was planted. Right? That's Alex Jones. That's his story. Well, let's examine that. Okay, let's examine that whole theory there. Alex Jones was really good friends with Charlie Sheen. Right? Charlie Sheen was Alex Jones's buddy. And Charlie Sheen, according to his ex-wife, what was her name? Denise Richards. According to his ex-wife, Denise Richards, in her court documents, she alleged that Charlie Sheen had child pornography and pornography of really young-looking girls, okay, on his computer. And the result of that case, that litigation, was that she was awarded full custody, and Charlie Sheen has supervised visitation with his own kids. Okay? At least that's my understanding. That's what it was at one point. I'm pretty sure it still is. Now, so, and the relationship between Jones and Sheen is not one of just radio host and radio guest. They've been photographed together in person, hanging out together. Yeah. So they've got some things in common, right? Some common interests. What could they be? Well, it's been alleged again that Charlie Sheen has an interest in tranny porn and dates transsexuals and has been involved with transsexuals. That's been a pretty well-known, well-discussed topic out there. And we also know that Alex Jones was photographed once. They photographed him on the air holding his cell phone, and on his cell phone was tranny porn. So that's interesting that they would both have that interest in tranny porn and transvestites and transvestite porn stars. Another common interest between the two. Right? I find that interesting. That these two have this friendship and they have that coincident interest in tranny porn. And now they both have this kind of allegation of child porn. You know? Now, the whole idea that he was hacked and the information was planted on him. Okay? Now, as you may know or you may not know, if you just listened to the show for the first time, Ed Opperman is a digital forensic investigator. I've been involved in hacking investigations. I've been involved in internet defamation cases. Oh, let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, we're going to play a commercial message here. We'll come right back. We'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. AlmightyGold.com. Get your gold in affordable quantities. 1 gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams, no minimum purchase required. Why save in paper when you can save in gold? AlmightyGold.com understands it's difficult to afford gold in large quantities. No one can afford an ounce of gold. This is why Almighty Gold has introduced to you Carat Bars, a most reliable company where you can buy gold in minor quantities from as little as 1/10 of a gram. That's like $6. Each gold bar is inset into the Carat Bar frame, which is a standard credit card size, and it's covered by a safety laminate. It's imprinted with a unique DNA for counterfeit protection and provided with a blacklight authenticity signature on the front. Gold, AlmightyGold.com. They have a cryptocurrency backed in gold, and you can become an affiliate at AlmightyGold.com and make a commission from any gold that is purchased from your affiliate link. It's contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. Contact us at almightygold.com. Gold! Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe add new point-of-sale locations across the country quickly, or bring in revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services to your office building, warehouse, or lobby? CartKing.com is the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food, carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. That's www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You go to the website, CartKing.com, you check out their different designs and models. You pick out which design applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. CartKing.com. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at puresoapflakes.com, greenhome.com, amazon.com, or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. As we left off, we were talking about all these people getting hacked. These poor hacking cases where people just get hacked, and then things are planted in a computer and all kinds of stuff in there and shenanigans. Same cast of characters seems to be too, right? A lot of Trump supporters in this group. Well, we're going to talk about a couple more. One is a personal case that I worked on, right? And this is a pattern that I'm going to tell you about here that I've seen in these cases where people get involved in computer crimes and suddenly they complain. Their defense is that they're hacked. I was hacked. Okay, because people don't know a lot about computers, and the first thing they think to say is, well, I was hacked. It must be that I was hacked. Someone hacked me and planted. Because there's hackers out there hacking everybody and planting things on people's computers. By the way, I've never seen a case in my life of working as a digital forensic investigator where someone's computer was hacked and someone planted something on their computer. Never seen that. Okay? I have seen hacking cases where people have stolen information and stuff like that, but I've never seen a case where someone's they plant the keylogger on somebody's computer. That stuff happens all the time. But this idea that they're planting information, planting incriminating evidence on someone else's computer or phone, never seen that. Now, I'm sure I'll get 10,000 emails telling me, oh, Ed, let me tell you about this case. All right, good for you. Now, I had a case once. It was years ago. The client was accused of going online and making some horrific allegations about a person she knew. And it was so bad, and in the state where she lived, defamation was a crime. So she was contacted by the police. She called up a lawyer friend of hers, and the lawyer friend of hers said, yeah, go ahead, talk to the police. Probably because she lied to the lawyer. And he says, talk to the police. So she tells the police, I didn't write that. I was hacked. Someone hacked into my computer, and they wrote it. Okay? Well, when she hires me for her defense team, right, by then she had gotten a different lawyer who was a criminal lawyer, and I was hired on the defense team, I saw, because the person who was being harassed and stalked and defamed had hired a digital forensic investigator, and that guy produced a report that led the police to my ex-client. So I saw the report. No, I didn't see the report. When I went to the website to see where the comments were and the screenshots and stuff like that, right away I saw how this guy conducted his investigation and how he found out who wrote the post. And the reason why I was able to recognize this right away and see this right away and understand what was happening is because the method he used is a method that I invented. I invented this way back in the early in the 90s when no one was doing this kind of work that I was doing. So I knew, okay, and I also knew, and I wrote in my report, I says, not only do I know how he did this because I invented this method, but I know that he's going to have other identifying information about the computer, and so that he's going to know that there's no way that this was a hacking situation, okay? This wasn't a situation where someone's parked out in front of your house and using someone else's Wi-Fi and capturing their IP address to use to send these comments. There was a lot more to this. There was definitely identifiers captured in this method that I invented. There's no doubt in my mind. And so I explained this to the client, right? And I explained this to her lawyer. And I says, the defense you're using, I was hacked, is not going to work. Okay, and here's why. And what would happen is the woman would get frustrated by this because I guess her lawyer was telling her, "Hey, you got to plead guilty. We got to plead, because we're going to get killed in court." And she would fire that lawyer and bring in a new lawyer. And then it was my job to give the bad news to the new lawyer. So this went on. Ultimately, I quit. I quit like after the fourth lawyer in this case. First of all, I wasn't even getting paid anymore. She stopped paying me. She ran out of money. This poor, crazy woman, man. And, but still, even when a client runs out of money, you still want to help them. I'm not a heartless guy. But it just got to the point where she kept firing these lawyers and bringing in a new lawyer. And then it was my job to bring him up to speed or this new lawyer up to speed. And I'm not getting paid. And I just got fed up with it. Hey, man, I'm being taken. First of all, she's lying here. I'll tell you what I told the last four guys, And this is I don't wonder what happened to her. She probably wound up in prison. So the point of me telling you that story is that the average novice tries, when they try to come up with an excuse or a defense to this kind of activity, the first thing they come up with was, "I was hacked." Coincidentally, just like Michael Cohen tried to come up with. And also how Alex Jones came up with. Now, Alex Jones claims the FBI cleared him, so let's see. Well, I'm waiting here with bated breath to see if the FBI has cleared Alex Jones. Now, this brings us to another hacking case. Nothing but hackers out there, right? Let's see. Now, this one was, I'm watching this. Let me find this thing here. I'm sitting back here, and an article comes out where Hillary Clinton, remember, she was the victim of a hacking, right? Everybody's heard of that. WikiLeaks, Russians, right? All this stuff, right? And she comes out with a statement saying, "You can have the election stolen from you," Hillary Clinton warns the 2020 Democrats. And I read that and I says, man, who wants to hear from this woman? Who wants to hear from Hillary Clinton about anything, about hacking, about stolen elections? Talk about stolen elections. You stole an election from Bernie. You want to remind people about that? Okay? But have you ever seen another presidential candidate that after they've lost, they keep coming out, they keep coming back into the public eye and talking about that, writing a book about it, how I lost, all this stuff? Never before have we seen this. Every time this woman shows her face, the entire country recoils. The right hate her, the left wonders why she's sabotaging efforts and revitalizing the right. Right? Why, when she shows her face, the right wingers just get all worked up. So no one's happy to see or hear from her. Why does she do it? She must know that she's not, she's not in an entire bubble. She must know. No one wants to hear from her. She's not helping anything. She's not helping the Democrats. Now, just about everyone can see that Trump's been compromised by the through blackmail by the Russians. I think partially due to the Piskate tape. And by the way, too, it just came out, too, this week with the Hope Hicks testimony, that Trump was aware of this Piskate stuff way before Comey ever walked into his office and showed him the right. Trump was aware of this before Comey walked in and told him about the Christopher Steele report. We just discovered this. Okay? So Trump was aware of all this. Right? And I even showed you some, I read some comments from you from the Mueller report about how they said, "Oh, we're taking care of it. We're getting rid of those tapes for you." Okay? Go back and look for those shows. It has Piskate in the title. We'll go on Spreaker and find it. So it's pretty obvious Trump is being blackmailed. Okay? Yet, so Trump's being blackmailed. Right? Everybody accepts that. Yet it's Hillary whose computers were infiltrated by Russian hackers. Why is it that no one suspects that Hillary does this stuff? Because she's being blackmailed. because she's being compromised. We know for a fact they've spied on her computers. We know that for 100% fact. It's 100 pages of it in the Mueller report. If she's been hacked and spied on, why don't we think she's being blackmailed? Why doesn't that cross anybody's mind that she's being blackmailed? Wouldn't that be more logical that she's being blackmailed, that even Trump is being blackmailed? And why does she pop back out here? And why is Trump doing a rally the other day talking about Hillary? He mentions her 70 times. Why is Trump mentioning Hillary in his campaign speeches? And why is she coming back and talking about the election being stolen? Why? Because they're both puppets in this game. They're both being blackmailed. They're both actors in this act, in this play. Trump and Hillary. They're both being blackmailed, both sides. I know this, okay, that she's being blackmailed. Because I've been involved in blackmail cases. I investigate this kind of stuff. Okay? And these things jump out at me. And what we see here is, if you read the indictment of Roger Stone, and if you read the portions of the Mueller report that I've read, they talk about how the DNC became aware that their computers were hacked. They became aware that their computers were hacked, and then they went out and hired digital forensic investigators, CrowdStrike, the FBI company, to investigate this and find out who hacked them, and they found out it was the Russians. Don't send me stuff about Benny. I'm done with that. Don't tell me Ed. Oh, Ed, do you know about Benny? I know all about Benny. I'm done with that. Leave me alone with that. I took reality on the show. How did the DNC become aware that their computers were hacked before they hired investigators? Were they walking past the computers and tripped and stumbled on a hacker? Or so? How did they know? The only way they could have known is if they were contacted by the blackmailers and said, hey, we've got dirt on you. Now, you read these the stuff from the Mueller report and stuff that's been leaked and stuff from the indictments. Credico and Roger Stone and WikiLeaks and all these people were waiting for this Russian dirt to come out on the Clinton Foundation and financial crimes, and it's all about to come out. It's coming out. It's right around the corner. None of that stuff ever came out. None of that came out. Why didn't it come out? It didn't come, not because they killed Seth Rich. Okay, that's all fantasy stuff too, guys. It didn't come out because the Clintons are playing ball. That's why they probably made a cash payoff too. But they're playing ball. That's why it hasn't come out. There's another thing that always struck me as suspicious. When all this stuff comes out about the Pizzagate and the Podesta and all this super creepy stuff, man, it just, right? The Clintons come out and they say, this is fake news. It was Hillary Clinton that coined the phrase, hey, fake news. Did you know? Do you guys know that? That it was Hillary who made up the phrase fake news? Now, shouldn't Trump be ridiculing that expression and say fake news? Ha ha ha. No, Trump has co-opted that phrase and he's popularized it in conjunction with Clinton. The two puppets on each side are both parroting and using this fake news and promoting this expression, fake news. Who wrote that script? Was that a common blackmailer that wrote that script about fake news? Wanting us to lose confidence in the American media? Now, I've tried to explain this several times before. and maybe I'm doing a better job tonight, I think. Or maybe I've just had enough potato juice that I think I'm making sense tonight because I've had a long day. All right. Now, also, too, we've done a couple of shows, too, about Rosneft, and which is definitely mixed up in this, too. Rosneft is a Russian oil company that was privatized. Billions of dollars, $1 billion business. You know, there's a connection to Trump. Even if you Google Rosneft, Trump's name comes up. We had Grant Stern on the show. You can go back and look at those shows. We've had Jeffrey Gilson on our shows, the original shows. We talk about Rosneft again. Now, why no mention of Rosneft in any of this? Who could be the blackmailers, by the way. But why no mention of Rosneft? Well, because the oil industry is untouchable. No one talks about the oil industry in this country. You're not allowed to talk about it. I'm the only person. You can't find another guy, man. Find someone else who's talking about nationalizing the oil industry in the United States of America. No one else talks about it. The oil company should pay me off to shut up. What would I'd take peanuts. I'll talk about something else, right? Because Rosneft and this private oil deal and the U.S. oil and Tillerson and all that stuff like that, all that mixture, that little soup there, they're untouchable. They pay off both sides of the aisle, okay? Just like the Clinton deal in Haiti, okay? Everyone talks about how the Clintons robbed Haiti blind. Well, Jeb Bush was involved in that. Obama was involved in that when he was just a junior congressman, junior senator. So, there's a mixture here going on, too, and I know, again, I'll say that maybe I'm not explaining this 100% correctly. You know, you're not getting it as good as you could. But, the chat room's here saying that they're catching up. They're catching on to what I'm saying here. Hey, I'm exhausted, man. Actually, what else? I got some things I want to talk about. I'm not sure. Well, okay. Let's see. Well, okay. Let me just put this in here, too, by the way, too. Now, a lot of people will say to me, hey, Ed, you know, I love your show, but I don't agree with your politics. And people come to my show with a filter. You know, they don't listen to what I'm saying because they have this political left-right conservative filter that they can't absorb what I'm trying to tell them. And you can't blame me for this because you really don't know my politics. You don't understand my politics because you don't listen. We did a show about 2 weeks ago, last week, the week before, about the public banking system in California. This bill that's out to create a public bank in California. That show got no views, man. On YouTube, it got like 125 views. I can do a video on YouTube called, one of my clips of, sometimes the clips I'm making a commercial goes up there by accident. And that'll get more. So people don't want to hear what I'm trying to say. People don't want to understand the benefits of a public bank. They don't want to understand the benefits of a nationalized oil industry. And we get into this stuff. So if you want to understand my politics and my economic policies and proposals, you got to listen to me. You got to make an effort to listen to me. You can't just say, well, hey, I'm filtering everything you say, because I don't want to agree with you, you know. And people, we're trying to raise money for Victoria's College, and I get these bizarre emails and posts about, oh, Ed's a socialist. Of course he's poor. And when he was a capitalist, he was rich. When I was rich, I was a socialist. When I was rich, I was an anarchist. Okay, you guys know what you're talking about, man. And then I'm talking about Al Sharpton. I replayed a repeat of my personal experience with Al Sharpton. Okay. And I go into great detail about how the guy's an FBI asset, an FBI informant, setting people up. By the way, it's not in that. I did another show where I talk about it, where I'm convinced he was wiretapping me because he was walking around with his briefcase there taping people, and I was there when he had that in situations where I know he was wiretapping people. I'm no fan of Al Sharpton. But people see this, and they get triggered through their racism and their bigotry and their closed-minded prejudice, and right away start telling the lad, Al Sharpton is no Christian. Al Sharpton is a race hustler. I'm telling you what Al Sharpton is from my personal experience and my investigation and the court documents of what Al Sharpton is. He's an FBI asset, and he's a shill for the GOP. You can find all the articles in the Village Voice. The guy was working with Roger Stone. The guy was working with Al D'Amato. So you're not listening to what I'm telling you. I'm not saying Al Sharpton is a good guy or I agree with anything Al Sharpton does in his life. When I met him, though, we were on the same side of issues. When I met Al Sharpton, we were on the same side of issues, which was issues of people getting killed in the streets of New York City there by the cops, okay? And he was able to mobilize people in those efforts. If you look at what he does now, when he gets involved in those cases, he tries to send them to the federal government that he's working for. You know, half of the things people want to argue with me about are things I don't believe in or haven't said. It's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating, guys. 51 minutes. Oh, boy. It kind of sucks because I got a story about the fire department here I wanted to tell you. And stuff about the family down the block. Let's see. Reparations. Reparations. Okay, let's get into reparations. This kind of fits with that. Okay. My apologies out to T.H. Johnson, who's been a great guest on this show here. And I mentioned to him I was going to be speaking about reparations tonight. And he might have tuned in, and then I didn't get to it. But it's not an elaborate proposal, my position or proposal on reparations. And the idea of reparations is giving consideration to the ancestors of slavery, right? Making them whole, okay? Now, we can't deny that, people that are descendants of slaves don't have the same opportunity that people who were descendants of slave owners, okay? If you were inherited wealth from a slave owner, you didn't inherit much wealth from a slave, okay? Because the slave didn't have much. So that's basic, okay? Now, I know right away you say reparations and people are triggered and, Mike, that was 400 years ago. That was 200 years ago. And Mitch McConnell says, we elected a black president. That's enough for them. right? Okay. But the problem is that this has caused an inequity. This has caused increased poverty amongst African Americans and increased poverty and disadvantage in African American neighborhoods, African American communities, African American families. Okay. And when we have to face that, and you say, I'm never had any white privilege, and I never had any benefits. I grew up in a poor family, whatever. But it's true. But and I agree that there's benefit. There's a cure for that as well. Like I said, we can nationalize the oil industry, we can nationalize the banking industry, and we can repair all your problems too as well, Mr. Poor White Man, my fellow poor white man. Okay, but this issue is something that needs to be addressed. Okay, now and people say, well, why would I want to pay? I don't want to pay my tax dollars. I am not guilty of slavery. I personally never owned a slave. And that's true, too. See, all this stuff needs to be studied, and we need to come up with a calm, rational approach to it. There are industries that benefited obscenely from slavery. Cotton industry, obviously. The tobacco industry. All these plantations, these farms, benefited immensely from slavery. R.J. Reynolds is a big company. Marlboro is a big, big company. Right? United Textile, these are big, big companies. A lot of money, a lot of stockholders. Right? Now, Wells Fargo couldn't get back and forth across the country without building the railroads. They built the railroads using slaves. Out of Wells Fargo came the Union Pacific, and the oil industry came out of Union Pacific Railroad. American Express came out of this from slavery. The Western Union, right? The Pinkertons, All these businesses came out through the benefit of slavery. All right, many more that probably I haven't. Del Monte, all these kind of fruit and vegetable companies, right? Many that I haven't even considered, but that we can't figure out which of these big, giant, monolith industries, right, that no one can compete with right now, got to where they are because of slavery. Now, what we can do, though, is because we can trace the ownership of the stockholders in these companies, and we can see which stockholders today who own stock in these companies inherited that stock from their ancestors who benefited their industry due to slavery. And we can tap that source. We can go after that money. And I think that's equitable. Okay? If me, as the great-great-grandson of a slave owner, own stock in R.J. Reynolds, or own stock in Del Monte, or own stock in Union Pacific or Union Oil, which is now Mobil or whatever. And I inherited that stock. I never worked a day in my life to get that stock. And I got that stock because my great-great-granddaddy owned slaves. Then I think that's a fair target, man, to go after that money. Okay? And use that money for reparations. Now, in some ways, I think we can't just take that money and just write out checks to people. But we can use it for daycares and schools and hospitals and home rebuilding loans, grants, and these kind of things, too, that can be used in impoverished neighborhoods to raise up all people from poverty, okay? Not just the descendants of the victims of slavery. Because what are we going to do? We're going to go around and start measuring people's noses and say, who's an octoroon and who's, we can't do that. Okay, I don't want to get, okay, I'm not going down that road, man. We can't go to start doing that. Who's an ancestor of a slave? Who's that? But that's $1 billion industry right there. All that, see, we want to be careful, too, that all this money just doesn't get hijacked by lawyers and law firms. So that's my proposal for reparations. Let me see how we're doing on time here. Okay, good. We're out of time. I'm exhausted. All right, guys. Listen, guys, thank you so much. All right. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you, cart-king.com, for your support. If you want to help us with Victoria's GoFundMe, you can go to Help Victoria Get to College. Help Victoria Opperman Get to College. And you can just throw us $5 is all we're asking for. We're not asking for a lot. I've been doing a lot of work in the Spreaker account here. I see how many people listen to the show, man. It's a ton of people. Okay? And I get a ton of emails every day. I get a ton of messages every day. If just everybody who's come to me for advice and help in the past 5 years would throw me $10, man, all that would be covered. And that's all I'm asking, man. I've helped you guys. I'm asking for your help back. If you want to become a member, you get some value back for your money. Go to OppermanReport.com. You can sign up to our member section there. We have 200 shows in there. A lot of great content. Great advertising opportunities right now, guys. You can't get any better. Okay? Oh, I spelled Paul Baresi's name wrong. He's all pissed off at me. I thought I had it right. I'll fix it, Paul. Relax. All right, guys. Good night. I got Paul Baresi pissed off at me. This is what I need. I thought I had that right, man. I tell you, I do that all the time. That's my weakness in life. I kind of suck sometimes. All right, guys. So thank you so much. Good night. My apologies out to Mr. Paul Baresi.